Katie Morrison pressed her nose against the transparent wall of Kepler 7. Trading station and watched ships from a dozen different worlds drift through the docking lanes like schools of metal fish. The station hung in space between 3 solar systems, making it the perfect place for aliens and humans to buy and sell anything imaginable. Her father Greg had brought her here during summer break, while he searched for spare parts for his salvage business back on Earth. "Stay close and don't wander off," Greg had told her that morning. But Katie was 13 and curious about everything. She had grown up in her father's workshop, learning to identify ship components before she could read properly. While Greg negotiated with a 6-armed Valorian merchant over fusion cores, Katie slipped away into the crowded marketplace. The trading floor stretched for kilometers in every direction. Holographic signs flickered in dozens of languages, though most had human translations underneath. Merchants from across the galaxy sold everything from living crystals to bottled starlight. Katie walked past a Draxian selling weapons that hummed with energy, and a Tyrellian offering food that moved on its own. She found the old docking bay in a forgotten corner of the station where hardly anyone went. Dust covered the floor, and most of the lights had burned out long ago. 3 ancient ships sat abandoned in the shadows, their hull plates covered in grime and corrosion. Katie's trained eye immediately saw that 2 of them were beyond repair, but the 3rd vessel made her stop and stare. The ship was small, maybe 15 meters long, with a design unlike anything she had seen before. Its hull curved in impossible ways that seemed to shift when she looked at them from different angles. Strange symbols covered the metal surface, not words but mathematical formulas and geometric patterns. The boarding ramp hung open like an invitation. "Ah, young human shows excellent taste." A voice croaked behind her. Katie spun around and found herself facing a Krillian merchant. The alien stood on 4 legs with scales that reflected the dim light, and his multiple eyes focused on her with unsettling intensity. "You see what others miss. Very rare quality." "Whose ship is this?" Katie asked, trying to sound braver than she felt. "Mine to sell, yours to buy if price is right." The Krillian, whose name was Vexter, moved closer, his smell like old metal and strange spices. "Ancient Tyraxian vessel, very old, mostly useless. Control systems use mathematics instead of language, so nobody can fly it. I sell cheap, just 500 credits." Katie's heart pounded. 500 credits was exactly what she had saved from helping her father repair ships. Most vessels cost millions, but this Krillian was offering it for almost nothing. "Why so cheap?" she asked, because her father had taught her that deals too good to be true usually were. Vexter waved multiple arms dismissively. "Old, damaged, useless to most buyers. But you understand machines, yes? I see how you look at systems, how you read the hull composition. This ship waits for someone with vision." Something about the situation felt wrong, but Katie could not resist. She climbed the ramp and entered the ship, finding a small cockpit designed for 1 pilot. The control panels glowed faintly even after all these years, showing mathematical symbols that actually made sense to her. She recognized equations for navigation, energy distribution, and structural integrity. Her fingers traced the symbols, and they brightened at her touch. "I want it," Katie said, surprising herself with how quickly she decided. "But I need to get my father first." No. Vexter clicked his mandibles nervously. "Other buyer comes soon, very soon. You want ship, you buy now. I give legal ownership through galactic commerce laws, all proper and official." Katie hesitated, knowing Greg would be angry if she spent her savings without asking. But the ship called to something deep inside her. She pulled out her credit chip and transferred all 500 credits to Vexter's account. The Krillian immediately processed the ownership transfer through the station's legal systems. And Katie's handheld device blinked with confirmation that she now owned the vessel. Excellent choice, excellent choice, Baxter said, backing away quickly. Ship is yours, all legal, all proper. Enjoy your purchase. He disappeared into the shadows before Katie could ask any questions. Katie sat in the pilot's seat and ran her hands over the controls. The ship hummed softly as if waking from a long sleep. She knew she should find her father immediately, but she took a moment to explore. The cockpit was clean, despite the dusty exterior. Behind the pilot's seat, she found a small living area with storage compartments and what might have been sleeping quarters. Everything was compact and efficient, designed for someone traveling alone. She heard footsteps on the ramp and turned to see Greg climbing aboard, his face showing anger and concern. Katie Marie Morrison, what did you do? He demanded, using her full name the way he only did when she was in serious trouble. I bought a ship, Katie said, trying to sound confident. It only cost 500 credits. 500 credits? Greg's anger shifted to confusion. That's impossible. Even scrap metal costs more. He looked around the cockpit, his experienced eyes taking in details. He touched the control panels and his expression changed. This isn't Taraxian. The metallurgy is all wrong. I've never seen hull composition like this. Father and daughter spent the next hour examining the ship together. Greg pulled out his scanning equipment and tested everything. The reactor still functioned perfectly, despite appearing centuries old. The hull showed no corrosion when he scraped away the surface grime. The control systems responded to touch and seemed to learn from their interactions. This is worth millions, maybe billions, Greg said slowly. So why did a Krillian merchant sell it to a 13-year-old girl for pocket change? Katie had been wondering the same thing. She pulled up the ownership documents on her device and showed her father. Everything appeared legal and properly registered. According to galactic commerce laws, she was now the legitimate owner. The ship was hers to keep. Greg sat down heavily in the pilot's seat. Sweetheart, I'm not mad about the money anymore. I'm worried. When something seems too good to be true, it usually is. We need to figure out why that merchant was so eager to sell. In the shadows of the old docking bay, they did not notice the observation drone recording everything. The feed transmitted directly to a Krillian military vessel hidden in the asteroid belt beyond the station. Commander Zale watched the humans examine their new purchase and allowed himself a satisfied gesture. The trap is set, he told his officers. The foolish humans have taken the bait. When they activate the ship's navigation systems and fly home, our tracking device will transmit Earth's exact location and all their defense grid coordinates. They have handed us their greatest weakness and paid us for the privilege. His subordinates clicked their mandibles in approval. The Krillians had been running this operation against newer Galactic Council members for years. Sell them ancient ships with hidden tracking technology. Wait for them to return home. Then use the intelligence gathered to gain strategic advantages. Humans were so new to galactic politics, so naive and trusting. This would be the easiest score yet. Back in the ship, Katie found herself smiling despite her father's concerns. She ran her hands over the mathematical symbols on the control panel and felt like she had found something meant specifically for her. The ship seemed to respond to her touch differently than to Greg's, as if it recognized something in her. Can we keep it? She asked her father. I know it's suspicious, but maybe we can figure out what's wrong before anything bad happens. You always taught me that the best way to understand a machine is to take it apart and put it back together. Greg looked at his daughter and saw the same determination he had possessed at her age. All right, he agreed, but we do this carefully. We scan every centimeter, check every system, and if we find anything dangerous, we report it to station security immediately. Deal? Deal, Katie said, and they shook hands. Neither of them knew they had just agreed to uncover a conspiracy that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Council and prove once again that underestimating humans was always a terrible mistake. 3 weeks passed since Katie bought the mysterious ship, and every day revealed new surprises. Greg had rented a private docking bay where they could work without curious eyes watching. The vessel that Katie had named the Compass, because of its navigation abilities, continued to amaze both of them. "Look at this!" Katie called to her father from inside an access panel. "The hull is repairing itself. I marked this crack yesterday, and now it's completely gone." Greg crawled under the ship with his scanning equipment. "That's impossible, but you're right. The metal is somehow regenerating when we provide it with basic raw materials. This technology is centuries beyond anything the Galactic Council currently uses." They had discovered that the compass responded better to Katie than to anyone else. When she touched the controls, systems activated that remained dormant for Greg. The ship's database, which had appeared completely corrupted at first, slowly became readable as Katie spent more time in the pilot's seat. Star charts appeared showing regions of space that no modern species had explored. Mathematical formulas scrolled across displays in patterns that Greg recognized as theoretical physics. "This isn't a cargo ship or a military vessel," Greg said during their second week of restoration. "It's designed for exploration. Everything about it suggests a single pilot who needs to travel long distances alone." Katie had been thinking the same thing. The ship felt personal, like it had been built for someone specific. The living quarters behind the cockpit contained storage for months of supplies. The reactor generated more than enough power for one person. Even the control layout seemed designed for individual operation rather than a crew. "Dad, do you think whoever built this is still out there somewhere?" Katie asked. Greg shook his head. "According to the database fragments you've decoded, this ship is at least 1,000 years old. Whoever created it is probably long gone." On the 4th week, Katie's best friend Amy Clark arrived at Kepler-7 with her parents for vacation. Amy knew nothing about engineering or starships, but she understood people better than anyone Katie knew. When Katie showed her the compass, Amy immediately noticed things that both Morrisons had missed. "Why are those merchants always watching you?" Amy asked, pointing to a group of Krillian traders who seemed to be observing their docking bay. Katie looked and realized Amy was right. Every time they came or went, the same aliens appeared to be monitoring them. "Maybe they're just curious?" she suggested. "Or maybe they're interested in your ship for reasons you haven't figured out yet," Amy said. She might not understand quantum physics, but she understood suspicious behavior. That same afternoon, an elderly Valorian trader named Shuden approached Katie while she bought supplies in the marketplace. He moved slowly on his 6 arms, and his voice trembled with age or fear. "Young human, a word of warning if you will accept it." "Of course," Katie said, noticing how nervous the old alien seemed. Shuden glanced around to make sure nobody was listening. "Some merchants here sell poisoned gifts. Beautiful on outside, deadly on inside. Your ship, it came from Vexter, yes?" "How did you know?" Katie asked. "Everyone knows. Word travels fast on station." Shuden moved closer, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Check your ship for extra passengers in the systems. Not living passengers, but technology passengers. Things that watch and listen and report back." Before Katie could ask more, the old Valorian hurried away, clearly frightened. Katie ran back to the docking bay and found her father installing new power couplings. "Dad, we need to scan for unauthorized technology right now." She explained what Shuden had told her. Greg immediately pulled out his most sensitive scanning equipment. They spent hours checking every system, every circuit, every connection. Katie suggested they focus on the navigation systems, since those would know where the ship traveled. Finally, deep in the navigation computer's core, Greg's scanner detected something that did not belong. "Found it," he said grimly. "It's a tracking beacon, incredibly sophisticated. It's designed to activate when the ship enters Earth's atmosphere and transmit detailed information about our planet's location and defense systems." Katie felt cold despite the warm station air. So that's why Vexter sold it so cheap. He wanted a human to buy it and take it home. We were supposed to lead them right to Earth. Greg examined the device more carefully, and his expression grew darker. "It's booby-trapped. If we try to remove it incorrectly, it will explode and destroy half the docking bay. These people planned this very carefully." Father and daughter sat in the Compass's cockpit, both understanding the situation's seriousness. The Krillians had targeted them specifically, knowing that a human in a trading station would eventually buy a mysteriously cheap ship. It was elegant and cruel, using human curiosity against them. "We need to tell station security," Greg said, reaching for his communicator. "Wait," Katie grabbed his arm. "If we go to the authorities now, the Krillians will know we discovered their plan. They might trigger the bomb or try something else. We need evidence of the whole conspiracy, not just this one beacon." "You want to pretend we don't know?" Greg asked. "That's dangerous, sweetheart." Katie's mind raced through possibilities. What if we could turn their trap against them? "You always taught me that the best way to beat someone is to let them think they're winning." She stared at the mathematical symbols on the control panel, and an idea formed. "Dad, can this ship's original systems interface with the Krillian beacon?" Greg ran some quick diagnostics. "Yes, actually. The Compass's technology is so advanced that it can read and manipulate the beacon's programming." "Why?" "Because we can feed it false information," Katie said excitedly. "We can make them think their trap is working while actually leading them into our trap. But we need help from someone in authority who won't reveal what we know." Greg considered this for a long moment. His daughter was proposing something risky, but she was also right that simply removing the beacon would not expose the full conspiracy. "I know someone in station security, Captain Brooks. He's human and he's smart. Let me contact him privately." Captain Brooks arrived an hour later, wearing civilian clothes to avoid attracting attention. He listened to their explanation and examined the tracking device himself. "This is serious," he said finally. "The Krillians are powerful Galactic Council members. We can't accuse them without proof. That's why we need to catch them in the act," Katie explained. "We pretend everything is normal. I act like an excited kid who can't wait to fly her new ship home. Meanwhile, we program the Compass to feed false data to their beacon and lead them somewhere else. When they show up expecting Earth's coordinates, we have all the proof we need." Brooks studied the young girl with new respect. "You realize this puts you in danger? If the Krillians suspect anything, they might take direct action." "I understand," Katie said, though her voice shook slightly. "But how many other humans have they done this to? How many other species? Someone needs to stop them." Greg put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. "If we do this, we do it smart. We need backup, we need witnesses, and we need an exit strategy if things go wrong." Captain Brooks nodded. "I'll arrange for military escort ships to follow you at a distance. I'll also start investigating Vexter's other sales. If this is a pattern, there will be evidence." He looked at Katie seriously. "You're very brave, but also very young. Are you sure about this?" Katie thought about all the other families who might buy trapped ships, all the species the Krillians were targeting. "I'm sure," she said. "Besides, the Compass chose me for some reason. Maybe this is why." Over the next few days, Katie and Greg continued working on the ship while acting completely normal. Katie made public posts on human social networks about her amazing find. "Can't wait to fly my new ship home," she wrote. "Best summer ever." The Krillians watching them seemed satisfied that their trap remained undetected. But privately, Katie spent hours decoding more of the Compass's database. She discovered incredible things about the ship's origins. It had been built by a species called the Architects, who had helped establish the Galactic Council thousands of years ago before mysteriously disappearing. Their ships were designed to choose their pilots based on specific qualities: mathematical ability, moral character, and genuine curiosity. The ship chose you, Greg realized when Katie showed him what she had learned. The Krillians found a derelict Architect vessel and tried to use it for their trap, but they didn't understand what it really was. It was waiting for the right person. Katie felt overwhelmed by this revelation. "So I didn't just buy a ship. The ship accepted me?" "Exactly," Greg said. "And that means you have access to technology and knowledge the Krillians never imagined. They sold you something priceless because they didn't recognize its true value." As their departure day approached, Katie felt both excited and terrified. She had faced challenges before in her father's workshop, but nothing like this. Still, every time she sat in the Compass's pilot's seat and felt the ship respond to her touch, she knew she was doing the right thing. The Krillians had made a terrible mistake when they targeted a human family. They had assumed that being new to galactic politics meant being weak or stupid. They were about to learn that humans possessed something more valuable than advanced weapons or powerful. The morning of departure arrived with Katie barely sleeping the night before. She checked the Compass's systems for the 100th time, while Greg loaded supplies into the storage compartments. Everything needed to appear normal, like a father helping his daughter prepare for her first real solo flight. "Remember the plan," Greg said quietly while they worked. "You fly toward Earth, but actually head for the coordinates we programmed. The Krillians will follow, thinking they're about to get our defense information. Captain Brooks and his team will be tracking everything." Katie nodded, trying to calm her nervous stomach. What if something goes wrong? What if they attack before we can expose them? "Then you run," Greg said firmly. "Your safety is more important than catching criminals." The Compass is faster than their ships according to the database. You can outrun them if necessary. Amy arrived to say goodbye, bringing Katie a small crystal she had bought in the marketplace. "For good luck," she said, hugging her friend tightly. "You're the bravest person I know, but please be careful." "I will," Katie promised. She attached the crystal to the control panel where she could see it. Ambassador Chun, the human diplomatic representative on Kepler-7, also came to the docking bay. He had been informed of the situation by Captain Brooks and looked deeply concerned. "Miss Morrison, I want you to understand something. What you're doing could create a diplomatic incident between humanity and the Krillian Empire. If this goes wrong, the consequences will be severe. If we don't stop them, how many more families will they target?" Katie asked. "How many species have already disappeared because of these traps?" Chun sighed heavily. Captain Brooks found evidence of 5 other ships sold by Vexter in the past year. 2 were human vessels that disappeared without a trace. 3 belonged to other newer council species. He paused. "You're right to expose this, but I needed you to understand the stakes." Katie climbed into the Compass and settled into the pilot's seat. The ship hummed its greeting, systems lighting up in response to her presence. She ran through the pre-flight checklist her father had taught her, checking reactor levels, shield generators, and navigation systems. The Krillian tracking beacon sat hidden in the navigation computer, still believing its trap would work perfectly. Through the cockpit window, Katie could see crowds gathering to watch. News of the human girl with the ancient ship had spread through the station, and dozens of species wanted to witness her departure. She spotted Vexter among the observers, his multiple eyes watching with what she imagined was greedy anticipation. Kepler-7 Control, this is the compass requesting departure clearance, Katie said into the communication system, proud that her voice only shook a little. Clearance granted, compass. The station controller responded. Safe travels, young human. Katie engaged the engines, and the compass lifted smoothly from the docking bay. The ship handled beautifully, responding to her slightest touch on the controls. She guided it through the departure lanes, following station protocols exactly. Behind her, Greg's transport vessel launched, ready to follow at a safe distance. As soon as the compass cleared station space, Katie's sensors detected 3 ships emerging from hiding in a nearby asteroid field. They were Krillian warships, heavily armed and moving fast. A communication system buzzed with an incoming signal. Human vessel. This is Commander Zale of the Krillian Defense Force. A harsh voice announced. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. Katie had expected this, but her heart still pounded. Why? I have legal ownership of this ship. I'm just flying home. Your ship contains stolen military technology. Zale lied smoothly. We have authorization from the Galactic Council to recover it. Surrender now, and you will not be harmed. I don't believe you, Katie said, remembering to sound scared but defiant. You're trying to steal my ship. I'm calling for help. Call whoever you wish. Zale laughed, and Katie heard the cruelty in that laugh. We disabled your long-range communications. Nobody can hear you, little girl. Now stop your ship, or we will stop it for you. This was the moment of truth. Katie touched a sequence on the control panel, activating the program she and Greg had created. Commander Zale, I know about your tracking device. I've known for weeks. I've been feeding it false information this entire time. The silence that followed was satisfying. Finally, Zale spoke again, his voice tight with anger. How did a child discover our beacon? Because humans aren't as stupid as you think. Katie said, we found your trap, we investigated your conspiracy, and we've been recording this entire conversation. Everyone in range is hearing you admit to illegal tracking devices and threatening a minor. It doesn't matter what you recorded. Zale snarled. Even if you found the beacon, you're still alone in a ship you barely know how to fly. We have 3 warships with enough firepower to vaporize you. Surrender the Architect vessel or die. Katie's fingers danced across the control panel, entering commands. This Architect vessel has been teaching me things you can't imagine. You found a derelict ship and thought you could use it for your schemes. You never understood what it really was. She touched a final sequence and the compass transformed. Hidden systems came online, technology that had been dormant for millennia. The hull shimmered and shifted, revealing patterns of energy that made the Krillian sensors scream warnings. Shield systems activated that no modern weapon could penetrate. The ship's reactor output multiplied as ancient power sources awakened. What is happening? Zale shouted. How are you doing this? The architects built their ships to choose worthy pilots. Katie explained while simultaneously uploading all their evidence to every communication frequency in range. Your tracking beacon, your threats, your entire conspiracy is being broadcast to the Galactic Council right now. You can't hide anymore. The Krillian warships opened fire, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the compass's shields. Katie engaged the engines, and the ship leaped forward with acceleration that pressed her back in her seat. The mathematical symbols on the control panels showed her exactly how to fly, teaching her instinctively. All ships pursue. Zale ordered his fleet. We cannot let her escape with that vessel. Katie led them on a chase through the asteroid field, her small ship darting between rocks that would have crushed the larger warships. The compass seemed to anticipate her intentions, responding before she fully formed her thoughts. She felt connected to the ship in a way she had never experienced with any machine. Behind the Krillian fleet, Captain Brooks and his security vessels closed in. Greg's transport followed, recording everything. But more importantly, the evidence Katie had uploaded was spreading across the galactic networks. The Galactic Council's public channels displayed the truth for all to see. The Krillians had been systematically targeting newer species with trapped ships, stealing intelligence and murdering those who discovered the truth. Ambassador Chung, watching from Kepler-7, immediately called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in virtual space as the evidence played before them. The Krillian diplomatic team tried to deny everything, but Katie's recordings were irrefutable. The humans lie. The Krillian ambassador protested. This is a fabrication designed to damage our reputation. Then explain why your military vessels are currently pursuing a 13-year-old girl, Chun demanded. Explain the bodies of the crews from 5 missing ships that our investigation has uncovered. Explain the identical tracking beacons found in wreckage across 3 sectors. While the council debated, Katie continued her dangerous flight through the asteroids. Sales ships refused to give up, their commander too committed to his mission to accept failure. You cannot run forever, he transmitted. Eventually your reactor will need to recharge, your shields will fail, and we will be waiting. I'm not running, Katie responded. I'm leading you exactly where I want you to go. She emerged from the asteroid field at the coordinates she had programmed, an empty region of space with no planets or stations. Katie brought the compass to a stop and turned to face her pursuers. The 3 Krillian warships formed a triangle around her, weapons charged and ready. Nowhere left to run, Zale said with satisfaction. Surrender the ship and I promise you a quick death. You still don't understand, Katie said. She placed both hands on the control panel and the compass responded to her completely. This ship isn't just a vehicle. It's a judge. The architects designed it to evaluate species for moral worthiness. You wanted to steal it, but it was never yours to take. The ship's systems activated in ways Katie was only beginning to understand. Holographic projections appeared in space around all 4 vessels, showing detailed records of every crime the Krillians had committed against newer council species. Every ship they had trapped, every crew they had murdered, every intelligence operation they had run. Inside Zale's command ship, his officers watched the evidence display with growing horror. Some of them had not known the full scope of their commander's operations. They saw the faces of people they had killed, heard the final transmissions of dying crews, witnessed the cold calculations of systematic murder. Commander, this is wrong, one of his subordinates said. We were told these were legitimate military operations. The emergency session of the Galactic Council continued for 3 days while Katie and Greg remained on Kepler-7 station. Representatives from 47 species watched the evidence repeatedly, each viewing bringing new revelations about the scope of the Krillian conspiracy. The recordings Katie had transmitted showed not just the attempted trap against her, but a pattern of similar operations spanning 5 years. Katie sat in a conference room with Ambassador Chun, Captain Brooks, and several council investigators. She had told her story so many times that the words felt mechanical, but each official needed to hear it directly. The elderly Valorian investigator named Thax listened carefully to every detail. You showed remarkable courage, Thax said, his 6 arms gesturing with emphasis. Most adults would have panicked when discovering such a trap. You not only kept your composure, but devised a counter-operation that exposed the entire conspiracy. I was terrified the whole time, Katie admitted. But my dad always taught me that being scared is okay as long as you don't let it stop you from doing what's right. Greg squeezed his daughter's shoulder proudly. She gets that stubbornness from her mother. The investigation had uncovered devastating evidence. 5 ships sold by Vexter over the past 18 months had disappeared completely. Council teams found wreckage in deep space, along with the remains of their crews. 2 human families, 1 Delarian merchant vessel, and 2 exploration ships from newly joined species had all been murdered when they discovered the tracking devices. The Krillians had been systematically eliminating anyone who threatened their intelligence operations. Why did they do this? Katie asked. What did they gain from killing innocent people? Dax's expression grew sad. Knowledge is power in galactic politics. By learning the exact locations and defenses of newer species, the Krillians could manipulate council votes, threaten military action, or sell information to others. They wanted to maintain their position as a dominant power by keeping younger species weak and dependent. Ambassador Chen looked exhausted from 3 days of diplomatic battles. The Krillian government claims Commander Zale's unit acted without authorization. They're trying to present this as a rogue military operation. But that's a lie. Katie protested. The evidence shows supply requisitions, funding transfers, and communication logs. Someone high in their government approved this. We know, Chen said. And the council knows. The question is, what punishment fits this crime? The Krillians are powerful. They have allies and economic leverage. Some council members want to avoid open conflict. Captain Brooks shook his head in disgust. So they might get away with murder because they're too big to punish? Not if I can help it, Thax said firmly. The evidence is irrefutable. The council must respond or lose all credibility. We have scheduled a full tribunal for tomorrow, where all parties will present their cases. That evening, Katie stood in the Compass's cockpit, running her hands over the control panels. The ship had taught her so much in such a short time. She now understood that the mathematical symbols were not just controls, but a language, a way of thinking that the architects had used to see the universe. You chose me, Katie whispered to the ship. But why? I'm just a kid who likes fixing machines. The control panels glowed softly, and new symbols appeared. Katie focused on them and suddenly understood. The architects had not wanted warriors or politicians to fly their ships. They had wanted explorers, problem solvers, people who saw challenges as puzzles to be understood rather than enemies to be destroyed. They had wanted individuals with curiosity, compassion, and the courage to do what was right, even when it was dangerous. I'll try to live up to that, Katie promised. Amy visited that night, bringing food from the station's marketplace. You're famous now, she said. Everyone is talking about the human girl who outsmarted the Krillian military. Some aliens are calling you the child who judges. Katie made a face. That sounds so dramatic. I just did what anyone would do. No, you did what most people would be too scared to attempt, Amy corrected. You took a huge risk to protect others. That's heroism, whether you want to call it that or not. The next day, Katie was called to testify before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous, with representatives from dozens of species sitting in tiered sections. Holographic displays showed her face magnified so everyone could see her clearly. She felt very small standing on the speaker's platform. The Krillian ambassador, a tall figure named Kresh, spoke first. The council must not let this incident damage our long-standing relationships. Commander Zale exceeded his authority. His actions do not represent Krillian policy or values. We offer compensation to the affected families and request that this matter be resolved quietly. Quietly? Katie found herself speaking without planning to. Like you quietly murdered 2 human families. Like you quietly killed exploration crews who just wanted to see new stars. How many more would you have killed quietly if I hadn't stopped you? Kresh's scales shifted color, indicating irritation. You are a child. You do not understand the complexities of galactic politics. I understand that murder is wrong, Katie said, her voice growing stronger. I understand that powerful people who commit crimes should face justice just like anyone else. If the council lets you pay some money and walk away, what message does that send? That it's okay to kill weaker species as long as you're important enough? Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Representatives who had been inclined toward a quiet settlement began reconsidering. Ambassador Chun smiled slightly. Katie was doing what no diplomat could, speaking with the moral clarity that only someone untouched by political considerations could manage. Thax presented the complete evidence, walking the council through every piece. Supply requisitions traced back to Krillian military headquarters. Communication logs showed commanders discussing the operation in detail. Financial records proved systematic funding. Most damning were the personal logs of Commander Zale, recovered from his ship's computers. They called it Operation Silent Knowledge, Thax explained. The goal was to map the defenses of every new council species within 10 years. They planned to expand far beyond the few cases we discovered. Miss Morrison's actions stopped what would have become the largest intelligence operation in council history. The tribunal lasted 6 hours. Katie was questioned repeatedly about her actions. Some representatives suggested she had acted recklessly. The proper authority should have handled the situation. Others praised her initiative. The debate grew heated as the full implications became clear. Finally, the council chair called for order. We have heard all testimony. The evidence is overwhelming. The question before us is not guilt, but appropriate response. She looked directly at the Krillian delegation. Your government must choose full cooperation with our investigation into everyone involved, or expulsion from the council and economic sanctions. Kresh consulted urgently with his advisors. Katie could see the calculations happening behind his eyes. The Krillians could not survive economically outside the council, but cooperation meant exposing powerful individuals to prosecution. We will cooperate fully, Kresh said finally, defeat clear in his voice. We request that our government be allowed to conduct internal reforms in exchange for transparency. The council chair nodded. Accepted, but under supervision. Council investigators will have complete access to your military and intelligence operations. Any resistance will result in immediate expulsion. She turned to Katie. As for you, Miss Morrison, the council recognizes your ownership of the Architect vessel. The ship chose you according to ancient laws that supersede all modern claims. Katie felt relief wash over her. She had feared the council might try to take the compass for study or lock it away in some museum. However, the chair continued, the ship contains knowledge that could benefit all species. Will you agree to share the information in its databases? Katie thought about what the architects would want. I'll share everything except weapons technology. The architects built their ships for exploration and understanding, not war. I'll help any species that wants to learn about science, mathematics, or navigation, but only if they promise to use the knowledge peacefully. The chair smiled, something Katie had not seen any alien do during these proceedings. That is wise beyond your years. The council accepts these terms. Over the next few days, Katie learned the full consequences of what she had exposed. The Krillian government underwent massive restructuring. 23 military officers were arrested, including 3 admirals. Vexter and 24 other merchants faced charges of conspiracy and murder. The investigation expanded to include several other council species who had purchased intelligence from the Krillians. You've changed galactic politics, Ambassador Chun told Katie during their final meeting. Newer species now have proof that they can stand up to established powers. The old assumption that being young means being vulnerable has been challenged. Katie understood that she had become a symbol of something larger than herself. Other young species saw that courage and cleverness could overcome size and power. The galaxy was watching to see what humans would do next. Captain Brooks approached with news. We found the original owner records for the compass. The journey from Kepler-7 to Earth took 5 days, with the compass traveling at speeds that amazed Greg and the escort ships. Katie had learned to work with the ship's systems naturally now, understanding its language of mathematics and energy. The vessel taught her through experience, showing her how the architects had seen the universe as patterns waiting to be understood rather than forces to be conquered. "You're flying like you've been doing this for years," Greg said from his transport, which struggled to keep pace. "That ship really has bonded with you." Katie smiled at the wonder in her father's voice. "It's not like flying a normal ship. The compass shows me what it needs, and I just respond. We're working together instead of me controlling it." As they approached Earth's solar system, Katie's communications board lit up with messages. News of the Krillian conspiracy had reached humanity, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk to the 13-year-old girl who had exposed it. Major networks requested interviews, government officials wanted briefings, and schools asked her to speak about her experience. "How do you feel about being famous?" Amy asked over the video link. She had returned to Earth the previous week. Overwhelmed, Katie admitted, "I just wanted to buy a cool ship and learn about alien technology. I didn't plan to become some kind of hero." "Well, you better get used to it," Amy said with a grin. "There are crowds waiting at the landing platform. Your face is on every news channel." The escort fleet that had followed them from Kepler-7 grew larger as Earth defense ships joined them. Katie realized they were giving her an honor guard, treating the compass like a diplomatic vessel. The Galactic Council had sent formal recognition of her status as an architect ship pilot, which apparently carried significant prestige. Earth Traffic Control directed them to the primary landing facility near Geneva, where the United Nations maintained its space operations. Katie guided the compass through the atmosphere, marveling at how the ship handled planetary entry with perfect grace. No buffeting, no stress on the hull, just smooth descent through clouds until the landing pad appeared below. Thousands of people waited behind barriers to watch the landing. Katie saw human faces, but also representatives from a dozen alien species who had traveled to Earth specifically for this moment. She set the compass down gently, and the ship's systems settled into standby mode with a contented hum. "Ready?" Greg asked, his transport landing beside her. "Not really," Katie said, "but let's do this anyway." The boarding ramp extended, and Katie walked down to find herself facing a wall of cameras and recording devices. Government officials waited in formal dress, including the Secretary General of the United Nations. But Katie's eyes found her mother first, standing near the front with tears streaming down her face. "Mom!" Katie ran past all the officials and into her mother's arms. Jennifer Morrison held her daughter tight, sobbing with relief. "Don't you ever scare me like that again," Jennifer said. "When I heard you were being chased by warships, I thought my heart would stop." "I'm okay, Mom. I promise." The Secretary General approached once the family reunion calmed down. "Miss Morrison, on behalf of humanity and the Galactic Council, welcome home. Your courage has brought honor to our entire species." Katie felt awkward with all the attention. "I just did what anyone should do when they find something wrong. I tried to fix it." "That is precisely what makes your actions remarkable," said a Valorian ambassador who stood nearby. "Many adults would have looked away to avoid danger. You looked directly at the problem and solved it." The celebration continued for hours. Katie met with officials, answered questions for journalists, and tried to explain what the compass could do. Greg stood beside her, proud but also protective, making sure people did not overwhelm his daughter. That evening, back at their home outside Denver, Katie finally got some peace. She sat in their backyard, looking up at the stars, the same stars she had just traveled through. Amy came over and sat beside her best friend. "So what happens now?" Amy asked. "Are you going back to school like normal?" Katie laughed. "I hope so. I missed enough school already this summer. Though I don't know how normal it can be when everyone knows about the compass." "Will you keep flying it?" "Definitely," Katie said. "The ship has so much to teach me." The architects left databases full of knowledge about mathematics, physics, and exploration. It would be selfish to keep all that to myself. Over the next few weeks, Katie and Greg worked with scientists from around the world to study the compass. Katie had promised to share everything except weapons technology, and she kept that promise. The ship's databases revealed new understanding of energy generation, faster-than-light travel, and materials science. Human researchers were amazed by the elegance of architect designs. They didn't just build better technology, one physicist explained to Katie. They understood the fundamental patterns of the universe. Your ship isn't just a vehicle. It's a mobile university. Greg accepted a position as Earth's liaison for architect technology research. He would help coordinate between the compass's systems and human scientists. Katie appreciated having her father involved. It felt right that they continue learning together. School started in September, and Katie returned to her classes, trying to maintain some normalcy. But everything had changed. Her classmates treated her differently, some with awe and others with jealousy. Teachers didn't know whether to treat her like a celebrity or a regular student. Katie missed the simplicity of being just another kid in math class. "Give them time," Amy advised during lunch. "Eventually the excitement will fade, and people will see you as yourself again." Katie hoped so, but she also understood that her life would never be completely normal. She was the pilot of an architect ship, responsible for knowledge that could shape humanity's future. That responsibility felt heavy sometimes. The Galactic Council sent official invitations for Katie to visit other species and share what she had learned. The Council wanted to establish a program where younger species could learn directly from architect technology. They asked Katie to be the ambassador for this initiative. "You don't have to accept," Ambassador Chen told her during a video call. "You're 13. You should be allowed to be a kid. But if I say no, who else can do this?" Katie asked. "The compass chose me specifically. Maybe this is my responsibility." Chen smiled. "You sound like someone much older. If you do accept, we'll make sure you can still attend school and have a normal life. The universe can wait while you finish your homework." Katie agreed to a compromise. She would work with the council during summer breaks and occasional weekends, but most of her time would be spent being a regular teenager. The compass could be stored in a secure facility when she didn't need it, and she could visit whenever she wanted. The first group of students from other species arrived in November. 6 young aliens from newly joined council members came to Earth specifically to learn from Katie and the compass. They were all teenagers like her, all curious about architect technology. Katie found herself teaching others how to read the mathematical language the ship used. She showed them how the architects saw patterns in everything, how they understood that science and art were connected. The young aliens learned quickly, each bringing their own species' perspective to the knowledge. "You are a natural teacher," said Kex, a young Delarian student. "You explain complex ideas in ways that make sense." "That's because I learned them the same way you are," Katie said. "The compass taught me by showing me patterns and letting me discover the connections. I'm just passing on what it showed me." By winter, Katie had established a routine. School during the week, time with the compass on weekends, teaching sessions with alien students during breaks. She still helped her father in his workshop, now using architect principles to solve engineering problems. Life felt full but manageable. Then in January, something unexpected happened. The compass detected another Architect ship signal. According to its database, there were 12 Architect vessels scattered across the galaxy, each waiting for the right pilot. The ship Katie had found was actively searching for its siblings. So there could be 11 more people like me? Katie asked her father while examining the signal data. Exactly, Greg said excitedly. Each ship will choose someone based on their unique qualities. Imagine what humanity could learn if we find even one or two more. Katie thought about the responsibility and the opportunity. Then we need to search. But carefully. We can't let others repeat what the Krillians tried to do. The Galactic Council approved an official expedition to search for Architect vessels. Katie would lead the effort when she turned 16, giving her time to finish more school and learn more from the compass. Other species volunteered ships and crews to assist, turning it into a collaborative effort. You started something important, Ambassador Chun told Katie during one of their regular meetings. Not just finding ships, but bringing species together. The Council has not seen this kind of cooperation in decades. Spring arrived and Katie celebrated her 14th birthday. Her party was unlike any in history, with guests from 6 different species. They ate Earth food and alien delicacies, played human games and alien competitions, and talked about mathematics and exploration. Katie realized she had created something special, friendships that